Okay, is this on? Good. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today we've just come to the end of what I think has been quite a successful Caribbean Nation Security Conference. And right off the bat, I'd like to thank Admiral Tidd and his team for co-hosting with us this regional conference. I also want to thank them for agreeing to invite Cuba for the first time to this conference, and also to thank Cuba for accepting and attending. This conference is the perfect vehicle for us to sit together as partners and discuss these shared problems and to examine shared solutions. Over the course of the last 3 days, we looked at a number of threats facing the region and assessed their likelihood and impact. We looked at things like the scourge of illicit trafficking that affects us, building disaster resilience and response mechanisms, the emerging trends in the global battle to counter terrorism, as well as the impact of health pandemics, and of course there's a particular concern now about the Zika virus that seems to be taking over the entire region. Jamaica's progress with respect to the establishment of regional centers of excellence and schools where we can train people in maritime and aviation areas. We also got an opportunity to show the persons who attended the conference what we are doing, and hopefully that will lead to more collaboration around the whole business of sharing our training resources across the region. We looked at possible methods of improving information sharing regionally, as well as strategies to improve awareness of the sort of initiatives that each of us are taking in this regard. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister and Minister of Defense of Jamaica, the Minister of National Security who came and spoke at our opening ceremony, the Office of the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the Ministry of Finance, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the Ministry of Health, the Jamaica Information Service, the Airports Authority of Jamaica, NMIA Airports, Jamaica Customs, the Jamaica Pegasus, the Jamaica Defense Force team that worked on this conference, and of course the U.S. Southcom conference planners, and all the participants and support staff for their collective effort that has led to a successful conference. CANSEC 14 demonstrates the recognition by all stakeholders in the Caribbean Basin that regional security affects us all and is likely to be better served and strengthened through strong partnerships, mutual support, and shared resources. Jamaica remains strongly committed to continuing this collaboration to enhance national and regional security. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank General Anderson and the people of Jamaica for so generously allowing us to meet this week in their beautiful island, and for being such gracious hosts to all of the participants of this year's Caribbean Nation Security Conference. The waters of the Caribbean touch all of our shores. We share a common understanding of the challenges and the opportunities that span our shared home. The nations gathered in Kingston this week have shared concerns regarding the threats to the Caribbean security and an interest in cooperative approach to protect the region's citizens from those threats. I speak for the entire U.S. delegation in saying we have come here because we care about this region We live in this region. We are home in this region. We are partners in the Caribbean with the Caribbean people. Our active engagement with partners in this region reflects the United States' long-standing commitment to the Caribbean and U.S. Southern Command's desire to work as equal and trusted partners. From our technical assistance to maritime security forces and support to the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative, to relief missions for countries afflicted by disasters, we stand shoulder to shoulder with you in working for the region's peace and stability. Now, this week, I have listened attentively to the remarkably consistent views and ideas shared on how best to strengthen our cooperation and how to achieve the short and long-term security and defense objectives for which we have all worked closely to develop. This collaboration has already yielded successes in mitigating potential threats stemming from natural disasters, like this region's response to Tropical Storm Erika. We are also seeing shared progress, confronting the shared threat of transnational organized crime. Future successes will require a continuation of our united approach, focused on building key capabilities, sharing information effectively, and sharing more information across the board. With better information sharing comes the opportunity for improving the effectiveness of our collaborative activities. Now, we begin the work of turning those ideas raised during this week at CANSEC into tangible outcomes that will move us much closer to those security and defense goals that we seek to achieve together. Again, I would like to thank the Jamaican Defense Forces under General Anderson's command for the professional way that you have hosted this conference. And I would like to thank the Jamaican people for your warm hospitality and for welcoming us all to your beautiful country. Thank you.
Before we begin, and because we're such gracious hosts here in Jamaica, we'd like to invite the representative from China to make the first, to ask the first question this morning. Again, when you receive the mic, please identify yourself, the media house you represent, and initially, we'd like to ask you to ask one question with a follow-on, and if time allows, we may give you the opportunity to ask another question.
Thank you, Major. Thank you, Major Garrett, and thank you, Admiral and Major General. My name is Ye Tao from China Central Television. I'm based in Cuba, so I'm very interested in Cuba's involvement in this conference. So, Admiral, what kind of role do you expect Cuba will play in the regional security? And is U.S. prepared to work with Cuba in this region in the future? Thank you.
I think we've already seen Cuba's active involvement in some of the regional challenges in healthcare and in disaster response. We talked at some length about humanitarian assistance and disaster response exercises, those sorts of activities. We share challenges with all of the countries across this region. Cuba is one of those countries in this region, and so I believe in the future we'll have opportunities to find ways that we can work together. The Cubans know that they've been invited not only to this conference, but to other conferences, and we will continue to explore with them ways that we can share.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Andrea Chisholm from the Jamaica Information Service. Major General, you mentioned the threat of the Zika virus in your presentation. Yes. Has the JDF sent, we realize in Brazil that some of the military has been dispatched to help. Has the JDF sent anyone to get any first-hand experience in that regard? And how is the military in Jamaica helping in Jamaica's preparation and response plan relating to Zika?
Okay, the actual medical services that the Jamaica Defense Force has is relatively limited. However, there's really no threat that faces Jamaica that the Jamaica Defense Force does not get involved in. And in this regard, we work and support the Ministry of Health, who has primary responsibility for it. But what we do is track it, see what's happening across the region with respect to Zika virus and where it's moving to, looking at some of the challenges that other places have had, like Brazil, with it, and we deploy our men to whatever is required. I mean, we have been involved in eradication of breeding sites for mosquitoes, and of course dissemination of information around this virus to our own people, which is significant, and their families and their communities. So we're a supporting agency in this regard, supporting to the Ministry of Health and to the National Solid Waste Management Authority. As you know, I've seconded somebody there to assist them, and have been participating in the cleanup campaign. So, yeah.
Any member from the JDF, have they been dispatched to any of the countries?
No.
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 Good afternoon, Admiral Tidd. You touched on what you discussed with the Cuban delegation, but can you talk more about that and talk about, it was that was the first time they were here. So can you just expand on what you discussed and what do you think each party got out of it?
Actually, our discussions were with all of the regional partners. And so our discussions spanned all of the defense and security chiefs that were present here. Cuba was one of the parties that was represented, and so I would just say that these were wide-ranging discussions that were useful to all of us.
Did you have direct talks with them on Guantanamo or the U.S. Air Force Base?
No.
If I may, the invitation which we had sent to Cuba had them here at the conference as a participant, just like every other one, and they were at the table like everybody else, and pretty much it was quite a normal thing. I mean, it is the first time, but it is what it is. They're a regional country, and they were at the table. That's it.
Paul Henry from the Jamaica Observer. Admiral, could you state what is the threat level of ISIS to the region and what is being done about it?
You know, rather than addressing that specific issue, I think it's useful for us all to recognize that the threat of radicalization is a threat that touches countries all around the world, including the United States. And so as we experienced most recently in San Bernardino, this is something that can pop up very, very quickly. And so when we had discussions, what we really talked about were the steps that, as a region, we can take in order to detect networks, to be able to illuminate these networks, and where possible to be able to disrupt them before an attack can occur.
Is there anything you can tell us from those discussions?
I would say that we shared a remarkably consistent view across all of the members present on just how dangerous this threat is.
Can I ask another one? Trinidad, there have been reports that residents or citizens from Trinidad have gone over to the Mideast to train and fight with ISIS. Have you seen anything, or is there any indication that any of these people came back to the region and maybe are helping to radicalize other locals?
I've seen those same reports that you're referring to. I think there have been instances, but again, I think the point that we all need to recognize is what we don't see, and that's what we all need to be on the lookout for. Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, I'd like to thank you again for attending. Wait, what's it?
Good afternoon. Siobhan Campbell, Nationwide News. I'll follow up to the observer's question. In your reports, Jamaica was labeled as a country who had citizens heading to Syria to join ISIS. Jamaica has strongly refuted that claim. Has any evidence been provided to the Jamaican government to back up that claim?
Our forces, the Jamaican Defense Forces, work exceptionally closely together. We train closely together. We exchange information on a continuous basis. We will continue to do so.
Yes, but as I said, has information in regard to Jamaican citizens traveling to Syria to join ISIS been presented to the Jamaican Defense Force or any government body for that matter?
We will continue to exchange information closely with our Jamaican partners.
Admiral Tidd, can you identify the Cuban delegation, the people who were here?
Let me refer you to the to my friends from the Jamaican Defense Force on that.
If you can,
Can you identify the names of the Cuban delegation who was here?
I don't know offhand. I don't remember what their names are. But if you ask me around the table, I couldn't name everybody who was around the table. I know them.
Right.
You know, but
Can I get
I'm
that?
not sure what you're I'm not sure what you're getting at. But yeah, they can get that information.
Okay.
I mean, they
That's
don't really keep that.
No problem.
Right. Okay.
Again, thank you very much for attending. We always welcome the opportunity to interact with the press, and we really do appreciate your presence this morning. Thanks again.